the beauty of it being called the Frye Family Band. Even if you're not related by blood, you become a family when you're doing music together.
I'm Tom Frye, and I'm part of the Frye Family Band, along with my son, my daughter-in-law, and our longtime drummer, Eric Reynolds.
My name is Mané Hernandez, but I go by Mané.
The band really got its name from a promoter we used many years ago when we were transitioning to what became the Frye Family Band, and he just said we should keep it simple and make it who we are, and so that's how that worked.
Anyone who's doubting, your back's against the wall, you've prayed 1,000 prayers, you don't think he's heard it all.
I'm coming up on, I believe, my 3rd year of being part of the Frye Family Band, and it all started with me dating Jonathon, who is Tom's son, and at the time it was just Tom and Jonathon, and then Eric, our drummer, and they were in need of someone to just do background vocals with them, and Tom knew that I could sing, and he was like, hey, do you want to do it? And I was like, okay, and I did it once, and after that I guess I was officially in. And I'm so glad that happened, because immediately I was just welcomed into the family with open arms, not just the band, but the whole family itself. And I think that that's the beauty of it being called the Frye Family Band. Even if you're not related by blood, you become a family when you're doing music together.
Even there you never walk alone. You've never been forsaken or forgotten. He'll never stop loving you.
Well, people often ask me how I got into music, and I always tell them kicking and screaming, because I never really wanted to be in music or in ministry, but God kept bringing people into my life to mentor me and really shove me out of the nest. It started out with just me singing songs I wrote, and then over the years I met other musicians, and they were interested in playing with us, and kids were growing up around that. And one day I was just rehearsing in the living room, and my daughters started to sing harmonies with me, and I thought, oh wow, do you guys want to sing with me? And I'll never forget the first time we did it, and we got done, and I paid them, and they're like, oh really, we're getting paid to play music? That's awesome.
Even through the valley of the shadow,
It was incredible to see how all of that started when they were little, and it continued when they became teenagers. And then with Jonathon being in college, he was still singing and leading worship and performing alongside with his dad. And it was really beautiful to just immerse myself into that and realize that this was the next step for the band. And it's been really cool to see the band grow through the years, and each individual gets to add a little bit of flavor into the music and ministry itself.
if you fall 1,000 times, just get back up again. 'Cause there's good news, there's still good news.
just were a family that whatever we did together. If our kids were playing sports, we would go and all watch and participate. So when the music happened, we just started doing it together. More of the ministry actually happened just because they saw a family loving God, loving each other, and having fun, ministering together. And I think that had a bigger impact really than even the music.
The cool thing about our band is that there's a lot of different ages. So we have Tom, which is like the father figure, and then you have Jonathon and I, young adults, and then you have Eric, which is in that category with Tom. Since you have different ages, now different cultures, since I'm from Honduras, we're able to reach out to different groups of people. And I think that there's something really powerful about seeing a family doing ministry together, because families are messy, and that's just the truth. And sometimes when you're doing something related to ministry and talking about God, you believe that you have to be perfect, and that since you're the performer, you have to have everything together. But that's not the truth. Like, we're sinners, we make mistakes, and that's how families are. And through our music and our ministry, we're able to bring a little bit of that realness and show people of different ages that you don't have to have everything together in order to follow Jesus.
God has purposed marriage and family for something very specific. And I think the biggest opportunity to grow disciples in the church is in our homes. The ministry starts at home. And it's about being real. It's about being authentic. It's not about hiding behind masks and walls, but it's being honest about our pain and our hurt and our scars, but teaching our children through our own modeling of it to surrender that to Christ and allow Him to use it however He purposes. I remember years and years ago, before I ever dreamed of playing music, going to see John Mellencamp in concert. I grew up in Indiana, and John is an Indiana artist. And I remember him right in the middle of this concert forgetting the words to his song. And it was so obvious because everybody was singing along, and he just stopped and started laughing and said, "Isn't it funny that we can forget the words to our own song?" And they started over and they went on. And to me, that was so refreshing just to see this realness portrayed, and when he could laugh over his mistake and not just melt down, and not try to fake it because it was so obvious. And so I think that's something that I've tried to bring into our band. There's times, we'll mess up a lyric or a chord and we'll look at each other and smile and just keep playing. And that's okay, because I realize none of us have it all together, and it's more important to be real than it is to be perfect or pretend to be perfect. When the kids started singing with me, it felt really normal for us because it didn't matter what we were doing. We did it as a family. We homeschooled our kids. We worked in the garden together. So that felt pretty natural. But when I realized there was something more, something special, was actually hearing it from my wife, because she wouldn't perform with us, but she would go and help us set things up. And she started telling me about all of these comments that she would hear from the audience, just about how powerful of a ministry it was, just seeing a family serve together and love together and love on people together. When I first started writing songs, I tried to write more in general terms because I thought that it was more relatable to people. As I started coming to Nashville and writing with people down here, they kept saying, you have to use your story and you have to write very personally, because it's in the vulnerability that you really connect with people. That felt very selfish for me because I felt like I was kind of pushing my story onto people, but just realizing how much the vulnerability really connects with the hearts of the listener was a big eye-opener for me. And so when I began to write in that way, I was just writing out of what God had been teaching me. So our last project was called Things Unseen, and it was the last Frye Family Band project that included my daughters, Kaylin and Maggie. They are now wives and mommies and have beautiful families. And so that really, I thought, was going to be the exclamation mark at the end of the Frye Family Band era when we did that. And I had an opportunity to work with a guy named Michael Farron, who's written some amazing songs. So I reached out to him about producing that. And so that album was one that he produced. And the songs, most of them were written with Michael or with some other friends in Nashville. It was released right in the heart of the pandemic. And Things Unseen was a song that my daughter Maggie wrote with some friends of hers. Just, I will trust when I cannot see the road ahead where you are leading me. The song is full of really prayers for people when they're struggling. God can use you more a lot of times when you allow him to take you out of his comfort zone. And it's interesting because in Indiana, there's comfort in the familiar even when the familiar isn't comfortable. And everything in Indiana was very familiar and it was comfortable in that regard. But here, being around a creative community, I felt just more like I could be myself. My wife used to say, I love the you I see when we're in Nashville because you're alive. I have developed a marriage and parenting event where we go into churches and it's a 1-day, 3-session event. We lead worship. I present these sessions. We have Q&As, materials. And so really we're transitioning the ministry from primarily a concert ministry to primarily a ministry where we can really just pour into families and in marriages in deeper ways than we can do through a concert. I remember years ago getting a call from a radio station that played our music, and he said, I just want you to know there was a couple, an elderly couple, that supported the station for years and years, and this gentleman's wife passed away, and he requested one of your songs be played at her funeral. That was so humbling. My parents and I were estranged for 14 years, and I was able to reconnect with my dad 2 years before he passed away. I've got a song that will be recorded down the road. It's not on this next album, but it's a song I wrote for my dad, and I sang this song for the first time at his funeral. And as I share that song in concert, it's amazing to me to see the grown men that are weeping. And that's redemptive. You know, when we can share our story through the lens of the gospel and not through the lens of our own pain. So when you can see a grown man weeping because of a story that you're telling through a song that you've lived, that's pretty amazing.
The Frye Family Band already has a really strong foundation. And since it's been in existence for quite a few years now, and I'm the newest member, I think that it's really cool that by being part of the band, now I have a chance to bring a little bit of uniqueness to it and learn from their experience and join it with my own and just reach people from all areas. No matter where you're from, your age, or your social status, we all go through the same problems and we all experience the same issues, and that we can just hold on to God and just figure out how to do life.
Jesus, born of a virgin in Bethlehem, as prophets foretold. Angels lit up the darkness, bringing the news, a Savior is born. But he is not a babe anymore, no, he is not a babe anymore. He is the Lion of Judah, the Prince of Peace, he is the warrior
I remember the first long trip that you took with us, and you were telling us that you had always dreamed about having a family band with your sister. And I thought, oh, that's just another way God kind of redeems our dreams and gives us things maybe differently than we anticipated.
Yeah, it was really cool to have the chance to like fulfill that dream of being part of the family band with you guys.
But he is not a babe anymore, no.
The getting to know each other, I feel like has happened during our trips. Like just being in the car with no AC, sweating, like crammed in the most awkward positions, like with the guitar jamming your ribs and then like a pillow on your side. And sometimes we travel with Dakota, your dog, and it's just chaotic, but so much fun.
Babe anymore, he wiped away my sin. He's the one that I adore.
The lyrics of the song, I feel like they speak to myself even more than what I'm trying to communicate to people. And in the moment, like I know sometimes I've performed one of our songs and myself, I'm feeling like I'm tired, I'm weary, I don't know what I'm doing right now. And I'm singing to other people, hey, don't worry if you're tired, don't worry if you're weary, like God's got your back, you're okay. So it's kind of like, I feel like I've grown in my faith through the music that we try to share with people, so they feel better and closer to God. I've heard so many stories about you traveling with your kids, and I've heard them over and over again to the point that I feel like I've been part of those stories, even though I haven't traveled when your kids were little. Traveling with your family, with the kiddos, and just doing life together in a van.
It definitely presented its challenges, but you know, it was fun.
People keep asking.
It would be interesting to hear what the kids had to say from their perspective, but there were certainly times, you know, stressful times, times when we got 2 flat tires at the same time, and I wasn't sure if we were going to make it to Texas, I think, for a concert. I look back and I just see just those special times, the things we got to see that we wouldn't have otherwise got to see. And just so many different places that we got to experience. We could homeschool on the road and we could have really cool field trips.
Maybe you're wondering, why do we do what we do? After half the night in a cheap motel, we wake up wondering too. We're a family band in harmony, in a family band. DVD, driving across the land, wild and free.
Lisa and I and the 3 kids and Eric, and we were driving one night in the middle of the night, and I was so tired, so Lisa was driving, Eric was co-piloting, and I was in the middle of the van asleep. And I woke up hearing them argue. And I knew right then Eric was not just a band member, but he was a family member at that point. I was calling my brother from another mother. And that was the night I think he became my brother from another mother.
We're so glad to be here. We hope you hate to watch us all go. But if you'll be a friend and lend us a hand, you'll help us pack up after the show.
I'm super pumped about our new EP that we're about to release, He's Still There. That song is one of the ones that I have the chance to lead myself. That song specifically talks about those moments when you're at your darkest and you feel like you can't breathe. Even the people that you love, that are around you, your friends, your family, you kind of feel like your burdens are too much for them. They're never too much for God. And He is still there.
Each season of the Frye Family Band has been different, but it's been good. And so you've brought a different dynamic than what was there before. Jonathon stepped into his role more. It's been fun to see him and grow in his musicianship, and you step in and bring, just a little different vibe and what that looks like. But it's so much fun.
Another song I enjoy a lot is Cats in a Cradle. Seeing you and Johnny perform that song as father and son is just, gives me chills.
That was really kind of a surprising song to me, because obviously that's not one we wrote. And to do that, such an iconic song that people already know, and to step into that and honor that lyric and that song in a fresh way is challenging, I think. But Jonathon and I did that when I was leading worship back in Indiana many years ago. We just did it as a special for Father's Day.
We'll get together then. We'll have a good time then.
People were like, oh my goodness, that was so powerful to see a father and son sing those lyrics back and forth. That's consistent with our messaging, our ministry, because we're all about really just equipping parents and families, and just a powerful reminder, I think, to see a father and son sing that lyrics. It's just been such a huge, huge song.
I'm gonna be like him, yeah. I'm gonna be like him. And the cats in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you coming home, Dad, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. We'll have a good time then.
The one that always just blows me away, I think it's sold more CDs than any other, is Jesus is Crazy,
Oh, yeah.
That's the only song that I wrote 10 or 20 years ago that I still sing, but it resonates with people, and it's fun, and it's just a good message, I think, that Christ's call in our life doesn't always look like what we think it's going to, or it certainly is contrary to our plans. But when we step into God's call is where we see just this crazy, amazing, blessed purpose.
Claims to be, we got a word for that, and it's called blasphemy. Well, the truth is, he is crazy. Wouldn't you say he was crazy for a king to come to serve the lost, the lame and the sick, to heal the blind, the deaf and the dumb? Yeah, Jesus is crazy.
All the power is his, and all the credit belongs to him. And
Sometimes we're very quick to tell other people, hey, God has blessed you, God loves you, but we're not as quick to say that about ourselves. Yeah, Jesus loves me, and he's crazy for me. He's pretty cool.
The truth is, he is crazy. Wouldn't you say he was crazy to leave a throne, to walk amongst the poor, and never have a place to call your home? Yeah, Jesus is crazy. Crazy, Jesus is crazy about you.
I love this new season that we're in, and I think it's fun to watch you step into your role. You love to sing, and people love listening to you sing, and just the way you interact with people. And on this new project, now having 4 songs of your own that you can step out and take ownership of. It's nice for me to see you have your own songs to sing. And then even on the recording, Eric's son plays some percussion that feels very Latin to me. And, even just bringing a little bit of that flavor into the band. And so it's different in that we're in a new season of life, but it's still that message that Christ loves us and he gave everything for us. We just need to surrender more of ourselves to him and allow him to redeem those pains. The more we grow in that, it's just so good. And so I hope that's what people are hearing in these new songs, because there's so much of that, from the suicidal struggles to the addiction to just hopelessness. And I'm thankful for what you brought to this.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
Even through the valley of the shadow alone.
Over the years, the kids, Kaylin, Maggie, and Jonathon have played in the band. And then Cody, my son-in-law, Kaylin's husband, with a name like Cody, we made him a roadie, so he got to carry gear. And then, of course, Seth played with us for a season. It's been great. I never really thought the family band would be here at this point, but it's a fun season, and I'm glad you're willing to do it with us.
Well, I'm glad to be a part of it, and I'm so excited for all that's to come.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My life is a miracle. Every child has a story of God's love to share. Shalom world, tune into God's love story.